Welcome to Think Tech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Duke Oishi.
And I'm Maria Kashem.
In our show tonight, we'll cover part 2 of the 4th annual Clean Energy Day at Laniakea Women's Y on July 6th.
In Clean Energy Day Part 1 last week, we covered the first and second panels of the program, dealing with the prospects for liquid natural gas, LNG, and the undersea cable. That show, Think Tech Episode 93, will be posted on OC16.tv on demand in the next few weeks.
In tonight's show on Clean Energy Day Part 2, we'll cover the 3rd and 4th panels of the program, dealing with biofuel, PV, and energy efficiency. The 3rd panel discussed the prospects of biofuel. What are the chances of success for locally sourced biofuel? How much or how little can or will be produced, and at what cost? What are the pros and cons of developing local biofuel? This was an exciting panel because we had panelists who are on the ground doing it. Kelly King of Pacific Biodiesel, Lee Jakeway of Hawaiian Commercial Insurance Company, HCNS, and Eric Bowen of the Renewable Energy Group. And our last panelist was none other than Richard Ha of Hamakua Springs Farms.
This is where I was on Monday at the opening of Big Island Biodiesel, and you can see, if you've followed our company over the last 16 years, you can see that we've come a long way from our first little Maui plant at the town dump at Central Maui Landfill. Pacific Biodiesel is the oldest biodiesel company in America, and I really want to thank everybody here for your support. We had such great support from our community, and we started with a mission of promoting a clean, sustainable energy future through the community-based production of renewable fuels. That has carried us through 16 years, and we've been focused on community-based. Community can be your town, it can be your county, it can be your state. Really, the defining idea for community for biodiesel production has to do with resources and how far and distant those resources are. So, we started out with the old adage of think globally, act locally, and I think our industry forgot the second half of that at one point. There was a huge issue, there was a bubble in the renewable fuels industry where everybody tried to go centralized. There were companies trying to come into Hawaii that wanted to import hundreds of millions of gallons of palm oil and start that way.
We grow sugarcane on 35,000 acres in Maui's Central Valley, and we are the last remaining sugar grower in the state. When I started in the industry over 30 years ago, there was over 200,000 acres in cane cultivation, and there was 12 sugar factories located throughout the state. We currently employ over 800 people on Maui, including our other divisions that help support our operation, and we are the largest single company for employment on Maui Island. The revenue-generating products that we produce are 200,000 tons of raw sugar equivalent, 65,000 tons of final molasses, which is sold as an animal feed supplement, and both of those high-volume products are exported to the mainland. We produce, but what stays locally is the energy that we produce locally. We produce 200,000 megawatt hours of electricity, mostly from bagasse and hydro resources. And of that, 65 to 85,000 megawatt hours are exported as firm power to Maui Electric Company.
Renewable Energy Group, my company, is the largest producer of biodiesel in the United States, so we make the same product that Kelly's company, Pacific Biodiesel, makes. We are also one of the older players in the biodiesel industry, our company having started in the Midwest in the agricultural areas where there was an abundance of feedstock and early policies to get the industry started. We have grown to become the largest biodiesel producer in the United States. We currently have 6 biodiesel plants operating, 2 in Iowa, 2 in Illinois, 1 in Texas, and 1 in Minnesota. We've got 3 additional biodiesel plants under construction and over 200 million gallons of production capacity from the 6 that are currently operating today.
I'm going to kind of give the farmer's point of view. And the first chance I've had to be able to, just talk about what farmers think about. So we've been farming for maybe 35 years and started from 1 acre so up to 600 acres. So we have an idea what it takes and, you know, what small farmers have to go to. And we have an idea what big farmers do. We're kind of like a medium-sized farmer. In the course, maybe about 5 years ago, we noticed our supply costs rising. And then we realized it was due to oil. So I decided I better go to the mainland and go learn about oil. And so I went to my first peak oil conference back in 2007.
After that, we heard about the relationship between PV and energy efficiency from the fourth panel. PV and energy efficiency have already changed the game for clean energy. Hawaii solar PV installations are on top in the country, and Hawaii Energy's efforts have put energy efficiency at the top of mind for ratepayers. We asked our panelists for a reality test on whether efficiency and solar are doing okay or losing momentum, or is the best yet to come. They were Michael Chang of Hawaii Energy, Murray Clay of Ulupono Initiative, and Sophie Cook of Civil Beat.
The top 10 things that I want to put on a slide for you, because they said we have 3 slides, so I squished them all up. The big first one is maximize capital investments. Everybody here is talking, everybody talks about power plants and biofuels and blah, blah, blah. What does it take to do all that? Money. But it takes an owner to make a decision to do that. But once that decision's made, make the best decision possible. So we do a bunch of things there. We help educate, we help create programs that drive behavior, drive projects, and then make them as good as possible. Because once you've made that decision, you've got all those people, do it as the best you can, because you might not miss that moment, or you might miss that moment. Commissioning optimization work. Sometimes stuff is not the answer. Sometimes you've got good stuff. We've got fluorescent lights in here, right? We've got the best and the brightest and the finest in here. We've left these lights on all day long. Do you need the lights? I don't know. Let's see.
So at the highest level, there's 3 major components. None of this will surprise you that an investor looks at in considering a solar power development. The first is, what does it cost to build this? Overall components, construction, what does it cost to build it? The second is, what am I going to get paid for that power I'm going to produce? And the third is, are there any state or federal tax incentives to make the whole thing that much more worthwhile for me? So I thought what I'd do is look at what would have to happen in terms of those first 2 items, cost of the system, price of power, in a world without tax credits, and what would have to happen for it to remain an interesting investment. And I'm assuming it's the red arrow. No, there we go. Okay, so first just looking at system cost. This is holding the cost of power constant. And if you can see from the base case, a utility scale solar project in Hawaii, there's a range of course, but it averages around $4 per watt overall. And a little bit less than half of that is the cost of the panels and equipment. So in the news media, you do hear about solar costs coming down significantly. That's usually referring to panel prices only, and the number that you usually hear in the media is 30% decline over the last 2 years. So I looked at both the overall costs and just the panel costs. But if we live in a world where there are no state income tax credits for solar, the overall system cost would have to come down by 40% for that investment to still make sense. And if we say that that price decline is only on the panels, they have to come down 82% for that investment to still make sense.
This past year, the solar industry really went through a bruising battle when it came to tax credits. And I think next year it's going to become even more difficult for them to hold on to it. There were a lot of allegations that solar companies were gaming the system, that they were installing multiple systems on a single rooftop in order to take advantage of multiple tax credits. It's something that the solar industry refuted and said that it's completely legal, and by all my reporting, it definitely wasn't illegal, but at the same time, you had the state tax department saying that's not the intent of the tax code. So that was happening all at a time where they were going to the legislature and trying to hold on to tax credits at the state level. And as Murray talked to some extent, this was all taking place in the backdrop of module solar panel prices that were dramatically declining. The costs about 80% declined. Most statistics I have, 80% in the past 3 to 5 years. and that takes up about 50% of the installation cost. So you had legislators like Representative Pono Chung arguing, well, we really need to take a second look at these tax credits. We need to close this loophole that's allowing people to take advantage of numerous credits. And we need to reevaluate whether this is something that's a priority for the state, whether we should be giving solar companies tax credits at a time when we're cutting Medicaid and we're cutting school bus service for kids, which currently is happening.
All in all, the discussion at the forum's 2012 Clean Energy Day was both candid and constructive, and the program was popular and very successful. We look forward to the forum's legislative briefing at the Capitol in January and to the 5th Clean Energy Day that's scheduled for July 2013. Judging from what happened last week, we can hardly wait.
I learned a few things at the program today. I'm a little more encouraged now with the undersea cable and some of the more controversial projects, such as LNG.
It just shows how the stakeholder group is growing here in the clean energy area, and it's pretty impressive.
Beautiful day, great turnout, a lot of the same old suspects, thank goodness.
I thought today went really well. I heard a lot from leadership and had a lot of really interesting perspectives, from cable to biofuels to efficiency, so I thought it was a good conference.
Jay, you had an excellent program. All of us were talking about it. The program was tremendous, the speakers were good. You covered everything.
I thought this was a really good program for getting out some of the issues that are right now at the front of people's minds.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, there's no place else in the country with the resources we have here.
I'm sorry I turned the lights out on you today, but that's my gig.
I thought it was effective. However, the crowd should have been a lot bigger.
Moving forward, persistence is the word, and in fact that's been the word now for some time. So maybe next year I'll give a talk on how good are we really doing on the HCEI.
Yes, it was very informative. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I appreciate all the hard work of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum.
But it's great to have it debated very openly. I was really impressed. And I even I wrote a bunch of those questions that you were fielding, and I enjoyed having the opportunity to ask those questions also. And
give this man a raise. No, very well organized. You had great speakers. Very, very impressed.
Excellent presentations throughout the day, and kudos to you for putting it together.
Jay, as always, great presentation. I thought you did a wonderful job. I think it was good. I think it's a victory for Clean Energy Day, and hopefully a victory for Civil Beat.
It was great. It was. I really enjoyed the sessions leading up to it. In fact, I just wanted to sit in my seat where I was and not get up myself, because I was having enough fun listening to everybody else.
Good conference. I'm an energy developer. I'm on the ground in the mud trying to get things built. We need a lot of help, and we have to have a lot of perseverance. Every other entity in the state needs perseverance, and I kind of think I heard that here at this conference.
Great job today. Lots of people saying this year's Energy Day was even better than last year.
Until we get to numbers, we don't know what the best course is.
I think it was a successful event.
It was a great event. I think everyone had a lot of fun, and it kind of fell together.
And now let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech's 4 to 5 p.m. weekday drive time radio series on KGU 760 AM continues this week. Tune in to 760 AM every weekday at 4 p.m. and raise your awareness on ThinkTech Radio.
On July 26th, HVCA and ThinkTech will present a luncheon program called Herding the Cats, Building the Film Industry in Hawaii, in which a number of panelists will cover the film industry in Hawaii and what it looks like for the future. Sign up for these programs on hvca.org.
And now, here's Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
2 weeks ago, after a big effort by the Strategic Development Corporation, the legislature passed the bill about accelerators, and the governor signed the bill. But what is it going to do? It's not a lot of money. There's only $2 million of state money involved.
You know, there's a lot of activity happening, especially in the world of mobile apps. And I think the interesting thing is that the mobile app developers don't need a lot of capital to get something built and published in the App Store or the Android store. What's lacking, however, is sort of the entrepreneurial best practices. It's one thing to be able to conceptualize an idea and write some software around it and get it in the App Store, but what it takes to build a business that's bankable, that will attract venture capital, that will fund a big team, I think is missing. And a lot of that has to do with a supply of experienced business people that can be part of a team.
But wait, Bill. Suppose, I mean, you're making, you know, there's this large structure around it. It's only a little app. And, you know, you can do the developer toolkit, right? You can download it in 10 minutes from Apple or from Android. It's free. You can buy a book for $20 or look up all the, you know, the programming and code libraries, and you got all that you want. And now you have this brilliant moment, and you have all these powerful programming tools, so build it. And they pay you a certain dollar amount for every copy. What else do you need?
And my point is that this is the, you know, the big wave, which may or may not be a bubble. And the interesting thing, though, is that some of these garage-developed apps have become huge plays. Instagram, for example. You know, a couple of guys build Instagram. They put a team together. They attract venture capital in spades, 15, 17 million. And next thing you know, Facebook buys them for $1 billion.
All in the space of, what, a year, 2 years?
Barely a year. Wow. There's tremendous amount of VC money now. It really is reminiscent of the dot-com bubble we experienced. They need a team, they need a vision, they need to think about how they're going to leverage the success of one into a real business.
But Hawaii could get in on the ground floor of this huge wave of apps and app companies right now. There's no reason we can't do that. We just have to come together over it.
I agree. And I think the accelerator funding will help that.
And here's our co-working entrepreneurs, Ray Chung Fujihira and Tony Stanford, to keep us current on their latest adventures at the Box Jelly.
Right now, it's very exciting. We got it's no longer frames. We got the walls. We have the walls up. Yes. We have the drywalls up. I can do you even one better. We got paint on those walls. Let me tell you what, we're bringing up the cedar. We got the doors in place. It's coming there. It's now you could go there and actually see it. It's no longer this dream saying we're going to have this here, we're going to have this over here. It's actually there. You can actually see the walls and the building.
And we're working with some partners, aren't we?
Yes. What are we working on?
Well, we're working on telecommunications.
Ah, telecommunications.
What we want Skype on steroids, and what we're getting is
Skype on steroids. We're talking about 3 Pinnacle cameras coming in at the same point, so you can see every movement in a conference situation, so you can actually feel like you're actually in the room.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we're also looking at 2 new locations people have talked to us about. I don't know, do we want to throw that out there right now?
Yeah, we can throw that out there. We'll give them a little taste, So we're looking at, a couple locations. We're looking at one in Kailua, a growing town, very educated town, where I heard prices for commercial rent is sky through the roof, but people want to get things done, so I think we need to be out there. And another place that's always been kind of on our doorsteps, but we've been looking at very closely at is Chinatown.
C-Town. So we'll let you know a little bit more about that as the weeks continue.
As it progresses.
As it progresses. And I guess the last thing to close it out is we all know about the Accelerator Project, Hawaii's Accelerator Project that Tony I and Maya Rogers are working on.
Very
Things are
feverishly
moving
on, I
forward.
might add. Very feverishly.
We've been talking to some very good people on the mainland, and things are moving and progressing. I think we're going to have probably about 2 companies doing some tests with pretty soon, and we'll let you know a little bit more about that. Maybe we'll bring them in here next time.
But we're looking to actually get the MVP launched very soon.
MVP.
And here's a Think Tech special. Some footage we took of Stefan and Lauren Day with some good political satire on the most controversial project of our time, rail.
Here we have Jacques Le Retardin, and he is from the architectural firm of Morin et Retardin.
We are an architectural firm hired by the government here in Honolulu to design a rail system that will revolutionize the face of contemporary Hawaii and Honolulu. And right now we are working on the final plans to make the renderings. Unfortunately, the renderings have gone out, and the Hawaiian public, I think, is not too happy. So we have to redesign things to make it a little bit more fair. It's election season, so it's not attractive to the people, and then it's not good for the voting and something like this.
How is the design going to look?
We are going for something very provincial, yeah. This is people don't think of Honolulu as a very cosmopolitan city, so we want to build a railway that is very strong. Like you see the architecture here has used a lot of concrete, like 1978, 1984, and we want to build something like this and then not come too far into the city because we don't want to mess with the beautiful city line of Honolulu. So we'll keep the rail outside of the city and go from the farming areas and take the farmland, and kind of nobody's using it right now. Then we put a rail system there, and then we'll build houses around that. That's how it's going to go.
So if the rail system is not in the city, who will ride it?
There will be people. Now you have the agricultural community, and you have some small establishment colonies, kind of things like this. It's like very much like 1840s, right? I don't know the specifics of what it will look like now. We are taking mini brainstorming retreats. We go to the new island of Lanai, which has been repurchased now, so it's much different. The services quality is amazing. But we are doing design retreats. We go there, stay for maybe 3 or 4 days, and we have many kind of wines and things, and we get creative.
But when tourists or let's say visitors are flying in, won't it be an eyesore?
Well, no, we are going to make it beautiful. It will be a beautiful world. And so you'll see it and you'll say, oh, this is a place where man has come and he has tamed nature. You know, once it was a wild, reckless place with, you know, people walking around everywhere, and now there will be a railroad going, a train. And you'll think, yeah, we are moving. We are evolving as a people. You have to understand that we are trying to bring Honolulu and the island of Oahu into the league with the rest of the world, right? So all the great cities of the world, you have like San Francisco, Barcelona, Madrid, Paris, Rome, London. They have a rail system, and the rail system is decorated with what we call urban murals, right? You gather the people who are the vigilante artists, and they come, and sometimes they make beautiful mural with aerosol spray can, or sometimes they use very fine etching with the key on the stainless steel.
So graffiti.
Yeah, you can call it graffiti, but I prefer to call it the way of the people, or the people of the way.
So don't you think it would be a little bit too expensive, $7 billion to
I don't deal with the money. That's the other partners. We have the creative side, and then we have the business side. And then those accounting people, they're going to be dealing with other accounting people in maybe either another firm or another part of the government. And they are dealing with other. It's a big, what do you call it? It's a clan. They do their own thing. I don't even understand what they are really working on. When you're making a big investment in the infrastructure, this is, you involve so many complexities of budgeting and finance that it becomes beyond us. Maybe the Chinese are going to pay for it.
So you're saying that you're completely unaware of
It's not that I'm
the
unaware.
price.
It's not that I'm unaware. It's that I cannot. We are dealing with a creative, artistic process of design and architecture. This is not something that you try to tie down to the table with ideas of finance so quickly. There are other people who went to schools for economics. I did not go to school for economics. I went to school for design. So I don't worry about that. Then when someone tells me I have made too many drawings, then I don't make any more drawings. But until I have been told that, I keep making the drawings. You understand? When we put in the train, it is like a ride through paradise. So people can come and just go through it. Instead of being in traffic, now they're having a ride to paradise. You look at it from these trams, and then you see you get to experience a greater depth of the island paradise that you have come to love so much.
But our population is only 900,000.
Eventually, you will have more people moving here from the mainland, and you will have more people moving here from Korea and China and Japan. And probably even people that are here will maybe have babies, so then you have a problem. This is called urban planning. So we want to put in something now for the future. We want Honolulu to grow. We want Oahu to grow. We want it to be like Manhattan. We want it to be like this big metropolis. Because why? You want to sit in the Stone Age here in the middle of the Pacific for the rest of eternity? No. You want to create a Mecca.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's lovely here.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of Think Tech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Thanks to the Schuyler Family Foundation. It supports a number of educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including Think Tech.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates, MECO on Maui and Helco on the Big Island, are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company, and CEO of CBI Polymers, a tech company in Hawaii.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Okay, Maria. That wraps up this week's edition of Think Tech. Remember, you can watch Think Tech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Jay Fidel does. For additional times, check out OC16.tv.
You bet, Duke! For lots more Think Tech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on Think Tech on OC16 TV, visit thinktechhawaii.com, be a sponsor or a volunteer, and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Duke Oishi. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. Aloha, everyone.
And I'm Maria Kashem. Aloha, everyone.